As someone who's pretty familiar with the Mid-Atlantic region, games based there are always super exciting for me. Fallout 3, 76, Homefront 2, GTA 3, there's no shortage, but The Division 2 just does it differently. Massive built their world with an almost obscene attention to detail, and it's what makes you feel so much like a part of it when your agent leaves the safety of a compound. Streets are cluttered with the detritus of a city whose institutions have crumbled, areas bordering or under hostile control are rife with gunfire and ambushes in alleys and courtyards. The regions that you have wrested from the grasp of the True Sons, Hyenas, or Black Tusk are still ghosts of their pre-collapsed selves. Stores and homes boarded up, the survivors are clinging to existence in makeshift communities that call old theaters and colleges home. Outposts are at constant risk of attack as factions fight over the limited resources that can be scrounged from the city. Your agent is one of many trying to bring some semblance of control to the situation, and for each fight you win, while the objective sometimes inches a little closer, it feels a bit like trying to plug a broken dam with band-aids. Monuments are in ruins, the mall is no man's land, and the White House has been turned into a fighting position as a last effort to make it seem like there's still a government of some kind in control. Most games as a service fail severely in making it feel like the continuous grind is part of a greater story or objective. But between the Black Tusk invasion, the base game factions fighting for resources, and the new retaliation system, it feels like you're actually continuing the fight in DC rather than just coming back for a generic grind. Now, throughout your adventures in Div 2, dilapidated modern infrastructure is the vehicle for a lot of what takes place. Fighting to gain control of systems and resources or stop attacks that would limit access to said resources in an effort to make the individual settlements livable for the remaining civilian population of DC. But do we really do that? I've only put a few hundred hours in over the years, but it's built some questions about what I'm fighting for, so we're making our rounds to the settlements, outposts, and safe houses to see if they really provide the things that they claim in an effort to bring regulation back to the District of Columbia, and to see where our agent might want to call home. So, what do these places need to both project security, provide necessities of life in the post-collapse landscape, etc.? The Horizon Initiative has assembled a list with 0 professional oversight, whose 7 points are: housing and sleeping quarters, worth 2 points; food and water, again worth 2; sanitation, or means for sanitation, etc., that's going to be worth 1; medical supplies, or a medical wing of some kind, another 2 points; general supplies, worth 1, that's going to be ammo, equipment for patrols, construction, etc. And security, worth 1, with a bonus point that rounds us out to 10, creature comforts. Our first stop is the White House. We secure the surrounding areas and swoop into what is presumably the most well-equipped of the various settlements, as it's the hub for training, security, command and control, medical care, all that stuff. It's the only settlement too with a built-in buffer zone, being the White House lawn, that insulates it from the city like it does, which is one of the reasons for ending up as the JTF and Division headquarters before old DC went kaput. After a little rebuilding though, it looks pretty damn good. So let's go through our checklist. For housing, it's well maintained, but very limited. A few bunks near the rear entrance and 2 by the security area downstairs next to the shooting range. The staff is most definitely hot racking or hiking in every morning from surrounding settlements, so they're only pulling 1 here. In the food and water department, they've got a decent little kitchen, abundant dry storage, and even some refrigeration. There's a menu with things like grilled chicken salad and burgers available, so the residents are definitely eating well. They pass this one with ease and pull both points. As far as sanitation goes, there's no obvious public restrooms or showers, but there's a grooming station by the lockers on the ground floor, and with how clean the sick bay is, it definitely implies there's running water, so we're gonna go ahead and give them a pass with as tidy as the sleeping and personal areas are. With that, the medical wing is extremely well equipped. Beds, monitors, doctors, all the things you expect from a hospital, just stuffed into an extra office at the White House. There's also supplies that are publicly available, so they've got the bases covered. Both points for the medical team. Multiple armories and supply depots show that they've got combat and patrol supplies covered. Inventory lists at each of the little collection points lets everyone know what's currently up for grabs. Most are fairly organized aside from the gear stash. They get a pass. Security is the thing that probably wasn't in question. All of the infrastructure was there for high security entryways. They've got patrol schedules posted for guards near the rearming areas, dudes with guns all over the place. They don't have to worry about finding another place to live. Point in security. And our bonus point. This place is pretty Spartan. Ops centers, gear stashes, medical bays. Chances are that if you're here, you are working and aren't gonna have much time for recreational activities. It's not to say it's totally barren. A quiet hallway with fine furniture and art might be a peaceful escape from the Situation Room. Add on the fact they have an actual mess hall instead of, a corner with a cooking fire. That also goes a pretty long way in making you feel more comfortable in your surroundings. It's not with glowing colors, but we'll give them half a point on the final pin here. This brings the White House settlement out at a healthy 8.5 on our rudimentary rating system. Other than the White House, you've got 3 primary settlements. The campus to the west, and to the east, you've got both the theater and castle. As the only one in the west, we'll swing through the campus first. We get a handle on the situation in downtown and bust out the clipboard. Starting off on number 1, for our repurposed community college, housing is solid. Both common areas and the actual enclosed dwellings give a sense of community rather than that utilitarian survival. So they pass with flying colors here, 2 points. They also secure 2 for food with their extensive farming operations. They've even got proper outdoor cantinas serving meals for the residents, coupled with sizable water reclamation setups. They're pretty squared away on the food and water. Third up is sanitation, and we gotta do some inferring here. You can't really access what seems to be their sanitation area, but you can see that they have a fully equipped laundromat, so pumping water is definitely doable at this one. At the back of the laundry area is a pair of stacked blue containers with power management and such attached to the outside. While these could just be more dwellings, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they very well may be showers, as this community seems to have made a collective effort to turn this campus into a fully functioning mini-society. Either way, I think they've secured a point here. This brings us to the field hospital, and they're pretty well off. Check-in, triage, a stocked pharmacy, inpatient care with seating for family members and visitors. It's not as sterile as the one at the White House, no, but it doesn't leave the survivors here wanting. They got the points. As far as supply setup goes, they seem to have it down to a science. Project management and building supply, arms storage, planning areas, it's got everything they need. They get the point. For security, they've got powered gates in all exits, guards at check-in desks, armed patrols, and no shortage of the means to fight, so we can confidently say the perimeter is toasty. Another point. And last but not least, what sort of ways have they come up with to help cope with the apocalypse? Honestly, the whole place is built to make surviving feel a little better. It's colorful, they've got a stage for locals to play music, proper dining areas, and one of the oldest pastimes in history, brewing. Music and alcohol are the cornerstone of many a celebration. Couple that with a healthy community like the campus, and they've got a pretty good lot laid out for them. They get a final point to bring them out to a crisp 10 out of 10. Sitting on the border of the Federal Triangle in downtown East is the first of our settlements holding dominion over that side of the map, the theater. And this is exactly what it sounds like. Although most of the community did make their home on the roof, as the closer one is to ground level, the more likely you are to catch fire from passing raiders. We do the do and get to checking off the list. Just like the last 2, we're leading with housing, but it required some poking around and a few educated guesses this time. I'm pretty sure they earned both points here though. There's very little visible housing that you can actually access at the settlement, because it's made up of several connected high-rise buildings. Because of this though, it seems that a lot of the apartment space on the upper areas is still accessible through fire escapes and rooftop access points. And I'd wager that the answer lies in the actual details of the settlement. With clothes hanging off of windows that are unreachable from walking paths, fire escapes with plants and decorations that are all well maintained, it feels like a pretty safe bet to say that they have some half-decent living arrangements here, so we're giving them 2 points. Next up, how well are they eating at the theater? As long as you don't mind fish and veggies, they are eating fantastic. Tons of hydroponic grow space that supports their fish farming operations, coupled with extensive water storage and a quaint little bar and grill. The theater's fat and happy. The water tanks for the individual buildings are intact, so it's safe to assume that the individual residents have no sanitation issues with showers and whatnot, assuming those are still working. And the organization of the settlement allows people entering at ground level to access wash areas to prevent contamination from outside, seeing as this is a biohazard apocalypse universe. Clean and tidy gets the point. Medical facilities are present, though not as extensive as the White House or campus due to the limited space they're working with, being kind of shoved off to the side in the garage. But they're definitely adequate to keep the settlement healthy. Not passing with glowing colors here, but they definitely secure a point. Their supply infrastructure is solid too. Plenty of staging area for patrols to plan and equip themselves. The medical area is quickly accessible to anyone entering the settlement. Vendors and administrative personnel are easy to reach, and it's not fancy, but everything's effective. Another point for the theater kids. On security, I'd venture to say they give the White House a run for its money. They have hardened entry points at ground level, choke points to gain height, mortar teams, small arms firing positions, etc., overlooking every approach. This place is pretty much a fortress. They get another one. Creature comforts isn't their specialty, but this is far from the utilitarian wasteland that the White House is. They haven't gone as far as the campus with this department, but they've done a decent job. Whether it's the lively common areas or the murals leading up to the top deck, it's a pretty welcoming vibe, so they definitely get the point here. While not as perfect of a review as we got with the campus, the theater is still a well-equipped community building itself out of the rubble in DC with a toasty 9 out of 10. Shimmying down to the south a little, we have the last of our primary settlements in the city, the castle. This settlement had a hard run of things, getting attacked with chemical weapons, the survivors having to pick up and leave, but it's back now, although it does serve a far more strategic force projecting role than it used to, so let's do the rundown. Number 1. This is missing a lot of signs pointing to the housing surplus that the other 2 standalone settlements have, although the common areas, specifically those in the JTF and Division area, are well equipped. This is more in line with the utility-focused setup of like a forward operating base, so while it's adequate, it's not great. 1 point. Food and water definitely isn't a problem here. They haven't gone the way of restaurants or cantinas as the others have, but they have a modest outdoor cafeteria by the supply depot that definitely serves its purpose. Add in their hardy farming layout and the abundance of water enough to have a dedicated fish farm, and they definitely snag both points. With its job as a forward operating base in the south of the map versus like a bastion of society that the others serve as, it doesn't have the level of public sanitation that the other settlements do. No designated bathhouse type area, just access to water and decontamination lamps at entries and exits. Definitely can't muster up a whole point here, so we're dropping half a point for sanitation. The clinic here makes up for a bit for the last point. A clean triage area, plenty of beds, excellent use of available space, that definitely snags them a point. But they don't carry the abundance of supply that the other bases do. Nor do they have a standalone pharmacy to take load off the clinic. They don't have extra inpatient housing, etc. So the campus falls a little short here with 1 point. Once again, it's a military post. There are supplies everywhere. Any intel your operative may need access to is there. Plenty of gear for local guards going on patrol, and a whole chunk set up like a rest and rearmament area for division agents or JTF assets rotating in and out. This place is purpose-built, definitely does its job. They get the point. The patrols are very well equipped. Training area means they're sharp with their weapons. Guided missile systems poached from Black Tusk make direct assaults a brutal affair, and the abundance of manned fortifications does the rest. Wrapped up by high security entry points, the castle is what the name implies, a point for security. And the bonus point is where they once again don't do great. No cozy lights, lively bars, just sandbags and people with guns. It's not a party town. It provides food and the means to fight for the rest of the city, rather than, helping make them comfortable. It feels reasonable that the people manning this position may be rotating in and out with personnel from other settlements. Doesn't earn them a pass here though, no point for comfort. This only brings us to a 6.5 out of 10 for the castle. It's obviously a lot less comfy than the campus or the theater, but it serves a more direct purpose as a defense asset, so that's not necessarily surprising. With the settlements rounded up, we can take a peek at what sort of support the patrols of volunteers have out in the streets. Do control points offer what you would need to do a 24-hour rotation outside of the safety of a settlement? There's a lot of control points and safe houses, so we're just going to check on 2 of each to see if they provide the necessities. For safe houses, we're checking out Liberty's Call in the far southeast and the Attic opposite in the far northwest. And for control points, we'll do the same with No Hope Hotel in the southeast and Sleeping Giant in the northwest. First safe house up is Liberty's Call. A few couches offer a spot for agents to rest, plenty of supplies, space for rearming or maintaining gear. It's got what you need for a safe house for a small patrol. Its accompanying control point, No Hope Hotel, also checks all the boxes. Defensible entrances, plenty of space to rest and eat, a secure supply room, good patrol base. Off to the west we go. Again, the Attic does exactly what a safe house should. There's a secure-ish hidey hole with supplies and intel to keep an agent on the move, and there is an actual bed to knock out on. It's damn near habitable. The nearby control point follows suit too. Construction infrastructure offers some pre-built defenses, power allows for patrols to store fresh food while they're here, and secure space for sleeping or extra gear wraps it all up. The control point gets a pass. Our wonderful little graphic here shows that if you gotta choose, the campus would definitely be the optimal place to live in the slowly recovering ruins of Washington, D.C. And for the brave NPCs patrolling the streets, the control points and safe houses definitely give them the tools they need to keep this little slice of the wasteland on the up and up. I do feel that it's worth noting that a 65% isn't a passing in all school districts. So, what would the castle's leadership do to make it better for the poor souls told that, that's where they gotta shack up? Without compromising the nature of the settlement, the easiest route would probably be to set up some common areas in the remains of the building to allow for some decompression, as armed conflict isn't exactly, like, a joyous occasion. But frankly, aside from beefing up the clinic staff, I think it's best served by just rotating its personnel with the other settlements. This place looks a lot less like a home than the campus or the theater do, after all. Did this serve any purpose? Absolutely not. But I was playing Division 2 the other night with my brother, and we realized there were like 5 times the people the bed infrastructure at the White House could support, so here we are. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and check out our channel, or find our music on your favorite streaming service. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, agents, and remember, Kelso had to go.